Chapter 23, Part 2. Bernat ran through the thick jungle, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The dense foliage tugged at his limbs, the undergrowth making every step a struggle. Sweat dripped down his face, and his heart pounded in his chest. His only thought was of Alyssa, waiting somewhere beyond this oppressive tangle of greenery. He had to reach her. The trees seemed to close in, their ancient trunks like silent sentinels, watching his desperate flight. The sound of running water reached his ears, a stream, cutting through the jungle's chaos, offering a brief respite. He pushed through the thick ferns and vines, emerging at the edge of a stream. The moonlight filtered through the canopy above, casting a ghostly glow on the flowing water. Then he saw her. A woman, ghostly pale, clad in tattered white, knelt by the stream, her long, damp hair hanging over her face like a veil. She was hunched over, methodically washing something in the stream, her movements slow and deliberate. The water around her was tinged red, swirling with blood. Her hands moved with a strange, unsettling calm, scrubbing the fabric in the cold water. Bernat froze, his breath catching in his throat. There was something about the scene that clawed at the edges of his mind, something familiar and terrifying. He tried to focus, his eyes narrowing as he looked closer at the garments in her hands. His heart skipped a beat, a chill creeping up his spine. The clothing she was washing, it was his. The realization hit him like a blow. Blood-stained shirt, his jacket, the very same garments he was wearing now. His eyes darted down to his own body. Sure enough, he was still clothed. But what the woman held in her pale hands was unmistakably his. Panic surged through him. He stumbled backward, the foliage behind him rustling as he tried to comprehend what he was seeing. His thoughts raced, fragments of half-forgotten myths and legends bubbling to the surface of his mind. He had heard stories of beings like this, creatures that foretold death. His lips parted as the name came to him, the word searing into his thoughts like a brand. A banshee. The woman stilled, as if sensing his presence, and slowly, she turned her head toward him. Her hair parted, revealing her face, an eerie, otherworldly beauty, her skin almost translucent in the moonlight. Her eyes, hollow and sunken, gleamed with the cold light. Her lips were bloodless, twisted into a sorrowful smile. She gazed at Bernat, the look of mournful recognition, as though she had been waiting for him. Bernat's heart pounded wildly in his chest, his body frozen in place. He had heard tales of the banshee before, an omen of death in Celtic lore, a harbinger of one's own demise. The legend spoke of a spectral woman who washed the clothes of the soon-to-be dead, her wailing cry a lament for the doomed soul. And now she was washing his clothing. A cold sweat broke out on his brow, his mind racing with terror and disbelief. Was this his fate? Was death stalking him even now? He took an unsteady step back, his throat dry, but he couldn't tear his eyes away from the woman. Her sorrowful expression deepened, and she lifted the blood-soaked fabric from the stream, holding it up to the moonlight. The red stains glistened, the water dripping from the cloth with a soft, rhythmic patter. The woman's mouth opened, her lips parting as though she was about to speak, or worse, scream. Bernard braced himself, his body trembling, but no sound came. Instead, the air around him seemed to still, growing thick with an unbearable weight of dread. He took another step back, his instinct screaming at him to run, but his feet felt as though they were rooted to the ground. The Banshee's hollow eyes never left him, her silent presence more terrifying than any cry she could have made. In that moment, Bernard knew that something beyond his control had been set in motion. The Banshee's presence was not an accident, nor a figment of his imagination. She was here for him. With a sudden jolt of willpower, Bernard broke free from his paralysis. He turned and sprinted into the jungle, his breath ragged, his pulse thundering in his ears. The foliage slapped against his skin as he ran, but the terror that gripped him was stronger than any physical pain. He didn't dare look back. As Bernard crashed through the jungle, his mind still raced, haunted by the pale, ghostly woman by the stream. His heart continued to pound in his chest, but not just from the sprint. Why did I run, he thought, disbelief gnawing at him. He had never run from a battle before. It was a point of pride, something deeply rooted in his identity as a warrior. Yet back there, facing that eerie figure, he had fled like a terrified child. The jungle around him blurred as he pushed forward, branches and vines slapping against his arms and face. His breath came hard and fast, the humid air of the island stifling him. He tried to shake the image of the Banshee from his mind, the sorrowful, blood-streaked clothes she had washed, the look of mournful recognition in her hollow eyes. The thought of it twisted his gut, filling him with the dread like nothing he had ever felt before. Was it truly a Banshee? The stories he had heard were more myth than fact, but what else could it have been? The memory was smothered as he suddenly heard the clash of metal and a familiar voice, sharp and commanding. Alyssa. He burst through the trees into a clearing where Alyssa was locked in a furious battle. She was surrounded by 3 opponents, their dark figures moving with blinding speed, their weapons flashing in the moonlight. They were human in form, but their features uncanny and slightly off, like they were pretending to be human, but just not quite getting it right. Alyssa was holding her own, her twin blades dancing in her hands as she deflected blow after blow, her movements a blur of practiced precision. Sweat glistened on her brow, but her face was set in a determined grimace. Bernard did not hesitate. Whatever fear had gripped him in the jungle melted away in the heat of the battle. With a roar, he leaped into the fray, his sword cutting through the air in a deadly arc. The nearest enemy didn't even see him coming. Bernard's blade cleaved through the man's shoulder with brute force, sending him crumbling to the ground. Alyssa glanced at him briefly, her eyes narrowing in acknowledgement, but she said nothing. There was no time for words. Another enemy lunged at her, and she spun, her blades crossing in a defensive block before kicking him back. Bernard moved in sync with her, their movements a perfect rhythm, born from years of fighting side by side. Within moments, the battle was over. The last of their enemies fell to the ground, blood soaking into the jungle soil. Alyssa stood tall, her chest heaving, her eyes still fierce from the adrenaline of combat. Bernard wiped his blade on the grass, his mind already beginning to drift back to the woman by the stream, the Banshee, his death. The bodies reverted to their true form upon death, tall and bearded with antler-like branches jutting from their heads, Their skin, too, is wood-like, similar to the bark of a tree in both color and texture. I did not expect to see Leshy here, Alyssa says under her breath. They rarely leave the forests. This tournament has thrown the entire supernatural world into disarray. Alyssa glanced at Bernard, catching the distant look in his eyes. You're late, she said, a hint of sharpness in her voice, though there was a flicker of concern beneath it. Bernard forced a grin. I got a little lost. The jungle is thicker than it looks. He sheathed his sword, hoping to bury his unease as easily as he had the corpses at their feet. Alyssa frowned, but didn't press further. She knew him too well, knew when something was off. But there was no time for deeper questions. The tournament still loomed, and the threats ahead were greater than anything they had just faced. Come on, she said, turning to move back into the jungle. We need to stay close. More of them could be around. Bernard followed her without a word, his mind heavy with what he had just seen. He hadn't told her about the Banshee, about the death omen he had encountered. He didn't want to burden her with that knowledge, not when she had her own battles to fight. But it was more than that. He didn't want to admit it aloud, didn't want to voice the fear that had wormed its way into his thoughts since he saw her by the stream. Did you run into anything on your own out here? Alyssa asks. Bernard hesitates, his thoughts returning to the Banshee. He could not tell her. How could he expect her to deal with such an omen and try to stay alive herself? A few battles here and there, but nothing I could not handle. Right, Alyssa says, returning her attention to the path ahead. I should have not expected anything else. Apologies. It's fine. We're both still alive, and that is good. Want to stick together and try to keep it that way, yeah? Alyssa nods. Yes. Descarina and Mishi continue their battle, but Descarina slowly implements more of her enhancements, pushing Michi to his physical limits. He begins to take more and more damage while Descarina gains the upper hand. Can you keep up? Descarina taunts. You seem like you're too weak to continue fighting me. Mishi focuses orbs of energy in his hands. Care to test my remaining strength yourself? I would hate to waste my time. This is when we should be cutting down as many foes as possible to amass greater strength and deny our challengers any chances of becoming more powerful. The time I spend killing you may actually leave me weaker than when we started. You think very highly of yourself. I have spent my entire life training to kill and honing it into an art form. The additional enhancements I have given myself only further increases my effectiveness as a killer. The trait of an assassin is out of place in a tournament setting, Mishi says. You will not be able to use stealth to kill your opponents. Descarina grins. That is why I've given myself a vast assortment of enhanced abilities. She boosts her strength with the blood of a Fomorian giant. She increases her speed with the leg tissue of a Kamitachi. She hardens her skin and makes it invulnerable to fire with the scales of a Zmu. Her fingers elongate into Yakaruna claws. And an aura of magic negation radiates around Descarina due to the wings of a Fae. Half a dozen other abilities hide within her mutated body. Mishi begins to sweat, sensing the energies of the various monsters within his opponent. He hurls the first energy orb at Descarina, but she easily slices it in half with her strengthened claws. He throws the second orb, but Descarina pivots and destroys it with equal ease. Mishi rushes in, but Descarina outmaneuvers him and delivers a powerful kick to the ribs. Mishi tries his best to absorb the blow and retaliates with a hard right. Descarina grabs his wrist with one of her 3 tails and pulls him into another kick. Mishi is sent flying back, crashing hard against a large rock formation that was once used by the primitive inhabitants of Jockey in order to worship the Fae. Before he can stand back up, Mishi is pelted with a barrage of energy blasts. The entire area is consumed in smoke and flame. Do you still doubt my ability to succeed in this competition? Descarina mocks. Mishi suddenly appears behind Descarina, thrusting a jagged piece of rock into her back. To his horror, the stone crumbles against the durability of the Zmu scales. Descarina slaps him across the face with her tails and pivots as he is stunned, releasing several more energy blasts into his chest. That was a good try, Descarina admits. If you had more strength, you might have been able to harm me. I am curious, though. How were you able to move behind me without my notice? I told you that your senses needed finer tuning, Mishi says with a cough, smoke rolling off his chest. I'll take that under advisement, Descarina laughs. You are entertaining, but I am only seeing that I was correct before. You will provide me no substantial boost by killing you. If I am so easily disposed of, why am I still alive? Why have you not killed me? Descarina frowns. I was wondering the same thing myself, actually. She darts at him, striking Mishi with several punches before using one of the tails to grab a leg and pull him off balance. As Mishi falls, Descarina moves with an uppercut with her claws outstretched. Mishi suddenly vanishes. So that is your secret, she says. When you think you're about to be killed, you are able to relocate your body. A troublesome ability, but one I think I would like to have for myself. The blood of the Yazata is not suited for one with a heart as black as yours, assassin, Mishi says from a good distance behind her. Yazata? She remembers that the doctor had tried so hard to get his hands on any of that sacred, angelic creature's DNA for his experiments. That is a bold claim. Are there not hundreds, maybe thousands of humans alive right now descended of the Yazata? Their lineage is watered down by many generations, Mishi explains. I am but 3 generations removed from the Grigori that fled their punishment and hid away in secret after the Great Wars. I would not be so quick to boast about having the blood of a coward within you. At least my abilities are not stolen from the dead and sewn on, like some ghoulish quilt. Angered, Descarina darts at Mishi, but he instinctively uses Shunkonito to evade. With her incredible speed, Descarina continues to pursue. Each attack she attempts to deliver is a fatal one, but they are all avoided through teleportation. Unlike a full Yazata that can use Shunkonito both offensively and defensively, Mishi is only able to activate the ability involuntarily when his life is in mortal danger. He cannot willingly control the time in which he teleports, making it both inconvenient and life-saving at the same time. With her ability, she is far more powerful than I first thought. Removing her from the tournament may be a necessity if anyone other than she is going to win. This girl is likely only one first-round win away from growing too powerful for any of us to handle, Mishi thinks. Descarina activates her GX parasite, increasing the metabolic energy throughout her body. This in turn causes her enhanced abilities to amplify. With the boost to her speed, she is able to blitz Mishi and render his Shunkonito useless. The Sabati is knocked hard to the ground, forming an impact crater. As he crawls to his feet, Descarina is already standing over him, with one hand outstretched. Whether the boost is large or not, if I don't kill you, someone else will, Descarina says. I'd rather none of my enemies gain any additional strength whatsoever. Are you afraid that one of them will surpass you? Mishi says with a cough. Blood drips from his battered body in numerous places. That is not a concern, Descarina growls. I will be winning the tournament. None of the other participants are a threat to me. I would rethink that confidence. There are no fewer than 5 beings on this island that completely dwarf you in power. Descarina shakes with anger, Mishi's words stabbing at her long-running insecurities. Even with all of her strength, she cannot help but feel that she will never be good enough. That's impossible, she growls. I've made sure that I'm the absolute pinnacle of strength. Your enhancements may put you above human, monster, or even Zakari, but no amount of physical augmentation will raise you to the power of a devil or one of the Aesir. Descarina's aura flares out with her emotions, and she begins to focus it into her hands. Mishi senses the redistribution of energy and patiently awaits the attack. I will show you just how strong I am, Descarina shouts, throwing her arms out towards Mishi and unleashing a torrent of energy in a singular blast. Mishi seizes the moment that he has been waiting for, taunting Descarina into attacking with enough strength to actually do some real damage. Riton Basuto. A magical cyclone appears, flipping the energy attack back onto its originator. Descarina's eyes widen in horror as her own energy barrels towards her. Unable to dodge, she only has enough time to cross her arms across her body for minimal cork protection. The blast explodes violently, leaving Descarina covered in smoke and badly burnt. Many of her protective smooth scales have been completely destroyed. That was a dirty trick, Descarina growls. I was having trouble getting through your defenses. It seems that your boasts of strength were not inflated. Damn you, she growls. Now I will kill you regardless of the boost I receive. Not in that condition you won't, Mishi says. I'm confident that I could take you in this weakened state. A red glow envelops Descarina, healing all of her extensive damage. The blood of the Caladrius allows me to heal from nearly any injury. Fully restored, she smiles at Mishi. You will see that I am effectively immortal. At the cost of your stamina, Mishi points out. The question is, do you still have enough energy left to defeat me? I am willing to find out, Descarina says, sliding her feet into a light fighting stance. Mishi pauses, sensing a powerful energy nearby. He trembles, having never felt such a strong presence before. The energy is human, but something more as well. Mishi fears that he knows what the other component is. There it is again, and it has grown even stronger. Now it may be even beyond that female Aesir. Mishi thinks in alarm. It is headed back towards the beach. Must intercept it before it is able to annihilate Yumuro's vessel and the human mages. I will need their aid if I am able to accomplish my own goals. Your heart isn't in this battle, is it? Descarina asks. I noticed how you keep looking past me towards the beach. That's where you really want to be, isn't it? Can you not sense it? Mishi asks. It's strange, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It is very strong, but it feels like several things all at once. It's a hybrid being, Mishi explains, inherently stronger than either parent species. I should kill you now and use your power boost to fight that creature myself. You and I both know that would not be enough. Descarina smiled. Yeah, maybe you're right. You aren't worth the hassle anyways. Go on. Go get killed if you want to so badly. Mishi quickly seizes the opening and darts off back towards the beach as fast as he can. He prays that he is able to arrive before his foe. In the jungle around her, Descarina can sense the presence of multiple other enemies gathering. You look lost, child, a deep voice says from behind. Jake turns to see a pale gray-skinned humanoid with deep-set red eyes wearing a black cloak. The man's fingers end in claw-like nails. His aura is not physically strong, but an ominous power radiates from him, keeping Jake on edge. I'm good, Jake says, keeping his eyes on the man. No need for you to offer me candy, puppies, or a ride in your van. You cope with your fear with witty humor, the man says without laughing. This island must be terrifying for a human like you. You mean like us, right? Jake asks. No, not at all, the man replies, lowering his hood to reveal pure white hair and pointed elfin ears. Pointy ears, white hair, not human, pale gray skin, Jake whispers to himself, thinking. You're a freaking dark elf! Svartalfa, the man corrects. I am Dub Cry, Chief Magical Captain to Emperor Nalzesh. I have no idea what you just said, Jake admits, but you're a dark elf, and that is cool as hell. Corruption magic, Dubdry says. Kran, Fioletior. The jungle quakes as dark magic seeps into the ground from the elfin mage. The dark magic is absorbed by the root systems of trees and causes several of them to animate and uproot. Gaping mouths full of wooden teeth appear on their trunks. Whoa! Jake shouts in alarm. Bad ants! Jake evades the branches of the slow trees as they swat at him. But Dubdry infects vines with his magic to wrap around Jake's legs and bind him. One of the corrupted trees manages to grab the teen and pull him towards its mouth. Jake screams in exertion, flaring out the black flame aura to repel the plants. The tree recoils from the mystical flames. Now is the perfect time to test out my training, Jake says with excitement, visualizing the magical glyphs for fire as he falls back. Aginestra! He screams, releasing a fireball into the corrupted tree's mouth. The tree screeches in pain, completely aflame. You are also a mage, Dubdroy says as Jake lands in a crouch opposite him. Nah, I still got my training wheels, Jake says. That was actually my first solo spell. Not bad though, huh? Are you mocking me? The dark elf growls in irritation. No way, Jake says. I'm just hyped that I was able to pull it off. This is not some childish game, Dubdry growls. The stakes of this tournament are high. The balance of power between Silrona and Nalzesh will drastically shift as soon as one of us claims the Banu Kazka. Assuming one of you is the one to claim it, Jake says with a grin. I'm a bit of a dark horse favorite right now myself. You are not going to live long enough to see the tournament begin, child. Dubdroy raises an arm to attack, but an arc of black flame energy severs the appendage in a flash. The dark elf stares in disbelief, watching his arm fall as Jake appears in front of him with incredible speed. Kron, Petril! Dubdry screams, manifesting a wall of petrified wood to shield him from Jake as he attacks, with a rising sword slash, from his manifested black flame sword. Galloth! Pyolion! He immediately chants, knocking Jake back with a whirlwind of tree pollen. The teen lands in a crouch, eyes burning and watery. Jake sneezes repeatedly. Are you serious? He shouts in aggravation. You attacked me with freaking spring allergies? Nimhe Galloth Pyolin. Dubdry chants, turning the pollen granules black. Everywhere that pollen touches becomes darkened and rotting. Corruption magic. Poison pollen wind. Jake surrounds himself with the black flame, allowing the fiery energy to burn away any pollen that gets too close. This asshole's green thumb is worse than my Aunt Sue's. Everything plant he touches goes bad, Jake says. I believe that is the intention of his corruption magic, Yumura says. He seems to be able to taint the positive aspects of nature and twist them into a weapon that he can wield. The black flame seems to be able to counter him pretty well, but I'm not sure how long I'll be able to keep it manifested, Jake says. It still is really taxing on my body and drains my stamina like crazy. Stop focusing on defense. If we want to defeat him before the flame goes out, you will have to be the one to go on the attack. Jake takes a deep breath and focuses on his manifested black flame sword. Dubdry summons more corrupted trees to stalk Jake, while still bombarding him with the poisonous pollen. A bright blue glow shines out from around the teen in a circle, pushing the trees back. The form of a spirit wolf darts out from the light, ramming into the trees. As Amarok comes into contact with the corruption, his positive energy acts to cancel out the magic. Dubdroy reels back as his spells are negated. Now! Yumura screams. Jake slashes the sword at Dubdroy, sending a massive wave of black energy at the dark elf. Basaia! Stragrich! Dubdroy screams as his entire body burns away within the mystical flames. Jake drops to a hand and a knee, trying to catch his breath. He dismisses the black flame and looks down, noticing that the grass is blackened to his touch. The number of competitors is shrinking quickly, but as the field narrows, the strength of those that remain increases. Most of the fodder has been cleared out. Now only the best fighters are left on Jockey Island. With the competition heating up, the remaining battles intensify. Come on! Hlaguor the Jotnar screams, slashing his axe down through the center of a large demon. You're no match for the great Hlaguor! Zilran slashes up through the midsection of an Almiraj, rabbit-eared Therian, before pivoting and driving a dagger up into the chin of a demon. You are only agitating them, he growls. Your big mouth is why we have been under constant attack since we arrived. Hlaguor shrugs, turning to smash the skull of another demon with the flat side of his axe. A good brawl is just what we need to loosen up before the tournament. With a feather-shaped blade, Filruf the Salif uses wind magic to render the form of an attacking bull-headed demon into many pieces. We are actually doing quite well considering. I have not seen too many creatures on this island. They're much of a threat on their own. We are not fighting them alone, Sir Jamrick says, cleaving his sword diagonally through a blue-furred Juwan. Not yet, anyway. We need only survive until the tournament begins. Survive? Hlaguor groans, punching another bull-headed demon in the face. The creature's teeth shatter and its skull indents. That's no fun at all. We aren't here for fun, Filroth says, lifting a Varkalak into the air with his wind magic. The Salif fires an arrow through the suspended creature's throat. We are here to claim the Yazadan weapon for Queen Silrona. Klebarg grabs the dead bull-headed demon by the leg and swings it around into a group of approaching trolls. The trolls are muscular and hairy, looking like deformed gorillas with humanoid faces and large noses and ears. We can win the tournament and still have fun. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. The twins are silent, tearing a swath through their opponents. Expertly placed arrows down charging foes. Daggers and short swords dispatch anything that gets too close. Heads up! Klebarg shouts, launching the body of a troll past the young Alifar. Sorry, he slipped out of my hand. Zelran aims an arrow at the giant's right eye. We could always say it was a monster that killed him. Zilbella uses her hand to lower her brother's bow. No, he is our ally. She looks at the giant and sighs loudly. Even if he is an idiot. Just one little arrow, Zilran whispers. He'd probably survive. I'm betting he's too stupid to die. A gust of wind magic cuts through the group, separating them. Having fought successfully as a unit, the Savalfar, Minduth Fuseno, grows tired of his enemies still being alive. How have you made it this far? Minduth says, rushing the closest member of the group, Jamriek. The knight and the dark elf battle furiously, parrying each other's sword slashes until Klebarg breaks up their skirmish with his axe, forcing Minduth to leap back in evasion. 'Cause we're fighting for something greater than the greed of your master, Klebarg shouts. Minduth flings several daggers from his cloak as he leaps back, but Filroth redirects the blades into the chest of a troll with his wind magic. Minduth growls in anger, gripping his sword tightly. I figured Nalgeth would have sent more than just you, Klebarg says. He must have thought a lot of you. Minduth shakes with anger, grinding his teeth together and squeezing his sword so tightly that his palms start to bleed. There were more of us. We were attacked by a dragon man and separated. I saw 2 of my brave warriors cut in half, but could do nothing to save them. Another opponent had already engaged me. I never imagined the fighting would be this intense. There is no rest. The hordes of enemies just keep coming. One cannot find a moment to collect themselves. It always sucks losing comrades, Klebarg says, nodding his head solemnly. They got what they deserved, Jamriek says. Servants of Nalzesh should be shown no mercy. The human is right, Zorath says, firing several arrows at Minduth. The Savart's Alfar pivots, cutting the projectiles out of the air. If we kill you before the tournament begins, Nalzesh is guaranteed to win nothing. Minduth and Zoran clash blades, the Savart Alfar pushing the smaller Alfar back on the defensive. Minduth's longer sword allows him to have a greater reach, and Zoran is forced to defend with his short sword and try to get in closer. Minduth keeps the Alfar at sword's length, knowing full well the young elf's strategy. This competition is meant to test warriors. Why is a child like you even here? Minduth shouts in indignation, insulted to even be fighting one so young. Zoran grins and ducks beneath a sword slash, managing to score a shallow cut to Minduth's side. Because my sister and I are better than most of the adults. Minduth pushes Zilran back, slashing through a tree. The Alfar ducks and rolls forward, cutting through the Svart Alfar's right calf. Minduth drops to a knee in pain, and Zilran leaps at his back, attempting to drive a dagger into his spine. Minduth turns his upper body, back swinging and narrowly missing the young elf. Zilran uses wind magic to backflip in the air and evade the attack. You are injured now, Zilran brags. On this island you will not survive long. My wounds are not fatal, Minduth growls. Maybe not, but your vulnerability is drawing a lot of attention, Zilran says, pointing to the growing crowd of monsters surrounding them. Vultures! Minduth screams, slashing his sword at the creatures, killing several with an energy blade. More monsters crowd in to fill the gap of the slain. 2 large ogres emerge from the forest, but collapse to their faces, blood swelling out around their hulking forms. Ilianaro steps forward out of the tree line, covered in blood from head to toe. His chest heaves rapidly. A crazed look of brutality is in the elf's eyes. We've made it this far, Jamriek says. Just keep pushing a bit longer, he says, willing his tired arms to continue swinging. Zilbella leaps over the knight, firing a pair of arrows through the eyes of a Therian beastman. The 2 warriors give each other a nod of respect before returning to new foes. Minduth forces himself to stand, using his sword to support his weight. The Yazatan weapon will belong to Nalzesh. I will not fail my king. You already have. Look at you. You're finished, Zilran says. Ionsu Sa'oil, Minduth chants, absorbing the life energy of the nearby trees and grass in order to heal his wounds. I thought the Dark Fae lost their connection to nature long ago, Zilran growls. You are using the plants in that way. It is a mockery of the Alfar. Minduth launches forward, immediately putting Zilran back on the defensive. Anything it takes to win. If I must pervert nature in order to do so, then that is exactly what I will do. Vines wrap around Zilran's ankles, stopping his momentum mid-jump. Minduth drives forward, running the young Alfar through with his sword. Zilran! Zilbella screams, instantly feeling her twin's pain. She turns, cutting through dozens of enemies, trying to reach her brother. You are still going to die, Zilran whispers, blood running from the corners of his lips. You are fighting alone. We are going to win. Because we are together. Minduth grins, ripping his sword free through the elf's side. Not if I kill each of you one by one. Zilran falls to the ground, nearly cleaved in half. The young Alfar is already gone. Zilbella reaches her brother, screaming with grief. Minduth raises his sword. Do not cry, little one. I will send you to join him soon. Klebarg roars, stomping several enemies and slapping Minduth aside with the broadside of his axe. The Svart Alfar is launched into the distance, disappearing into the trees. Is he gonna be alright? Klebarg asks, looking down at the 2 small elves. Zilbella shakes her head, tears streaming down her face. He's already gone. Damn. I kinda liked the little guy. He was full of spunk, Klebarg says, saddened. Ilianaro stares forward in shock. dropping his sword. The elven knight drops to his knees. "No, not him," he whispers, devastated. "The enemies are growing more desperate," Jamrick shouts, cutting down a pair of demons. "The end is in sight." Filroth begins chanting, becoming one with the element of wind. "My friends, move in close beside me." Klebarg picks up Zilbella and quickly moves near the Salif. "Wind spirits of Kishar, I am a child of the winds of Selae Tarim. I ask for your aid. Please protect us from the evil that has infested this island." A vortex of magic spirals around the group before erupting into a tornado that scatters all of the nearby enemies and flattens the landscape for over a kilometer in all directions. "This was not supposed to happen," Eleonora whispers. The group begins to walk around and survey the damage. Currently, there are no more enemies in their immediate vicinity. Klebarg looks down at the still crying Zilbella. He wishes that he could do or say something to help. But there is nothing that comforts someone who has just lost a loved one. "We'll get that bastard," he whispers. "We'll kill him for what he did to your brother." "No," Zilbella says, balling her fists. "I will kill him." Klebarg nods. "Fair enough. But I'll do everything I can to make sure you get that opportunity." "We're still in a bad position out here in the open," Jamrick says. "I think we should make our way back to the beach. There, we should be able to put our backs against the sea and only have one direction we have to watch." Eleonaro sheathes his sword and tries to recompose himself. "Yes, that would be best strategically. Come on, let us go." Zilbella does not move, staring at the body of her fallen twin. "There is nothing more that you can do for him. Do you want more brave warriors to fall? If we do not stop the forces of Nalzesh and claim the Bonokoska, Nalzesh himself will be given the weapon that has the power to destroy all of Selae Tarim." Zilbella looks up at the elder warrior, tears still in her eyes. "Menduth is mine," she vows. "No one gets to kill him, except me." Descarina unwraps one of her tails from the throat of a strangled demon. The body falls to the ground, joining a pile of over a dozen others. After Mishi left for the beach, Descarina was able to recover some of her lost stamina by killing one of the final groupings of demons still roaming the jungle. While not necessarily teaming up with each other, the demons worked as a group, to pressure other groups of fighters to split up and weaken their unity. When it came down to it, each one of the demons would have not hesitated to betray and kill the others. "You have gotten much stronger than even an hour ago," Hui says, approaching her from the jungle. "It is a testament to the success of Queen Inyana's plan." Descarina tries to ignore him. She isn't fully confident that she can defeat Hui at her current power without taking on considerable damage and leaving herself vulnerable to attack. "It took me a while, but I remember who you are," Hui says. "You were the doctor's bodyguard. You accompanied him to my shrine." Descarina tenses with anger, letting Hui know that he is on the correct path. "Yamura went on then to kill the doctor, did he not?" "What is your point?" Descarina growls. "I hate him as well." Hui begins to walk away without engaging in a fight. "Only one of us will be able to exact that revenge." "You had better hope you get your hands on him before I do." What was the point of announcing yourself if you aren't here to fight me? Descarina asks, insulted by Hui turning to leave. In her mind, he does not see her as a threat. I am just reminding you of your place, human, Hui says, before your ego becomes too swollen and you enter the tournament thinking you are invincible. Whatever pathetic victories you achieve before the tournament will pale in comparison to the battles that will soon unfold. I recommend you drop out now while you still have your life. Descarina begins to argue, but thinks better of it. She knows the Sakari is strong, but she does not know the full extent. Hui is not her concern. She must keep her eyes on the goal. If she were to be killed before exacting revenge on Jake for killing the doctor, she could never overcome that disappointment. I will see you in the tournament, Sakari, Descarina says boldly. Hui holds up a hand as he walks away, barely acknowledging the statement. Whatever. Just do not get in my way. I will not give you any further reprieve. So arrogant, Descarina thinks in anger. Maybe I should have taken my chances and killed him after all. She quickly works to calm herself down, knowing that leaning into the anger too much could make her reckless and mistake-prone. To survive on this island and make it to the tournament, her skills and wits must be equally sharp. It's fine. I will have plenty of other chances to kill him. I need to focus on closing the gap between myself and the strongest fighters on this island first. There's no point in committing to this competition as I currently stand. Not with combatants like that goddess and the hybrid beings still out there. Inyana and Kazura continue to watch the various battles as they play out across the island. Powerful foes are vanquished, and much to the Sakari's surprise, many of the humans still remain. How is it that an island filled with vampires, devils, and monsters of every type cannot rid itself of a handful of human vermin? Kazura complains. They may be mages, but the devils, at least, should be able to dispose of them with minimal effort. The influence of my brother and his vessel seems to have become a rallying point for the humans, Inyana says. They are working together, something that the creatures of this island are too narcissistic or foolish to attempt. What good will their teamwork be once the tournament begins and they are forced to fight each other? It seems as though they are not worrying about that for the time being. Their goal prioritization is commendable. A brilliant explosion on the beach catches the attention of the Sakari. The powerful aura radiating out from the individual responsible is more than Inyana has ever before felt. She shrinks back with nervousness, worried that her plans may be ruined due to attracting a fighter too strong for any of them to handle. What is it, my queen? An energy, unlike any I've ever before sensed, has been unleashed on this island, Inyana whispers. Kazura frowns. I do not sense anything out of the ordinary. The Sakari is correct, Cedrion says, the others not knowing he has returned. The Grigori comes and goes so frequently that neither of them think of this too much. What you sense is called a cambion. A cambion? Kazura whispers. I do not know of such a creature. And I was not aware that any currently existed, Cedrion replies with some annoyance. Should it begin to complicate matters too much, I will be forced to step in and remove the creature myself. Can you? Inyana whispers. What I sense is stronger than even you. Cedrion laughs, pointing to the Warna ring on his finger. You forget that my power is greatly subdued in this world. Should I remove my limitations, your bodies would burn up to ash in my mere presence. A simple half-breed is nothing I am too concerned about. It is the impact the creature will have on the mortals down there that gives me slight pause. Are you saying that this Cambion may kill the Grand General or Yamura? Without my intervention, I believe that outcome may be inevitable. Even at birth, a Cambion's sheer power is greater than most beings. With even slight combat training, this Cambion could best skilled Yazatan Seraphim, or Devilnay warriors. And with considerable training, Inyana asks. Cedrion hesitates, appearing not to want to answer the question. With enough training, the Cambion could have learned to conceal an amount of its energy. Wait, Kazura says. That could mean that it is stronger than even an elite such as myself. That is why I will observe it in battle for a time, before I decide on what action, if any, I must take. I've never seen him flustered before, Kazura thinks. Is this Cambion really such a big deal? I thought you made it so that the Yazata could not find us here on Jockey, Kazura says. I could not fully prevent them from coming, as I, too, am still a Yazata. Any spell designed to block them from reaching the island would block myself and Gadriel out as well, Cedrion says. I merely amplified the island's already existing defenses and made it much more difficult. That is not to say that even if I had prevented Yazata fully from reaching Jockey, a Cambion could not still have arrived. How is that? Kazura asks. Because the Cambion is not half Yazata, it is half devil. The magic that transformed them also made them no longer Yazata by any recognition of the universe or magical laws. Do you think any of them down there can defeat this creature? Cedrion pauses. I have my intuition, but I have been let down by the failure of mortals before. I cannot hold any of them in too high of regard. We will just have to wait and watch the battles unfold just like everyone else.